afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the webinar on everything you need to know about IHI contributing partners. My name is Nasima, and I'm going to be your moderator today. Before we start, I just want to share with you some information. If we move to the next slide. Firstly, we are recording this session, and we will be publishing it on the IHI website. We will also publish the presentation slide. Another important point, if you have any questions, you are welcome to send them via the chat function on the bottom right of your screen. Just send them in to us and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. This webinar is on contributing partners only, so we will not talk about the core topics or the IHL rules and procedure. We had those webinars earlier this year and we advise you to go and watch the recordings and the presentation slides, which were published on our website. For the info on the open calls, you have all the links here on the slide, so we invite you to check them as well. Today, we have with us Carolina, who is legal officer. She's going to kick off with the presentation. We also have Egle and Antoine, who are financial officer. So now I will hand over to you, Carolina.
Thank you so much, Nasima. Yes, I think I managed to unmute myself. Welcome everyone to this webinar. Let me first present the outline of the webinar. So today we will be looking at contributing partners in IHI, and first we will look into who can be and who cannot be a contributing partner in IHI. Then we will look into why. So why an entity would want to become a contributing partners and what are the benefits of becoming a contributing partner. After that, I will hand over to my colleague Egle, who will present the what of the webinar. So what can and what cannot be contributed by a contributing partner into an IHI project. And then the final point, which is the most, I would say, practical one, is the how. So here we will look into the application process in single stage, in two-stage calls, and the assessment of applications by the IHI-GU Governing Board. After that, we will have time for questions. So let's start with the who. Who are IHI-GU contributing partners? This is a category that was created with the goal of opening IHI to a very wide range of stakeholders who might wish to invest in our projects, who want to contribute strategically to the achievements of the objectives of IHI. But in fact, those entities also do not want to become a full members of IHI. Hence, the contributing partners should be entities that are able to make a meaningful contribution, that is a contribution to the strategic and specific objectives in IHI in our research. And those entities, in fact, act as an investor. So this is very similar to how the IHI private members act. So they invest their own resources, which can be staff time, which can be even cash in a specific project. The contributions work in a very similar way to the contributions of private members of IHI. Therefore, both public and private organizations of various natures may consider becoming a contributing partner. We have some examples of the contributing partners already approved by the IHI Governing Board, which are philanthropic organizations, which are also companies that are active in medtech imaging diagnostics. So it's a very wide range of stakeholders that we already have in IHI as contributing partners. Each potential applicant must consider, first of all, that we are a public-private partnership, and there are some consequences resulting from that. And what are the strategic and specific objectives of IHI? This is something to look at when considering applying. Further, each potential applicant should really look into the nature of planned contribution, namely what do they want to bring into the project or a call. And more specifically, the applicants should also acquaint themselves with the obligations resulting from participation in a consortium implementing an IHI-GU project. I will talk about this a little bit more in the last part of this presentation. Now, maybe a little bit more specific. So who particularly can become a contributing partner? And then I will say a few words about who also cannot become a contributing partner. So any country, international organization that, or a legal entity that is in a position of accepting our model grant agreement and the legal rules of Horizon Europe may consider applying to be a contributing partner. Such organization need to demonstrate that they can contribute strategically to the specific objectives of IHI in the specific area of IHI's research. Such organization needs to be in a position to accept the legal framework, and by accepting this framework, they have to submit a letter of application. This letter will describe the scope of their engagement in terms of in-kind or cash contribution, in terms of the envisaged activities for the projects and the duration of such engagement. An interested contributing partner must also follow a procedure of applying, and this procedure is different in single stage and two-stage calls. We will talk about this in detail a little bit later in this webinar, and we will also give you some useful tips for how to go through this procedure. Now a few words about who cannot become a contributing partner. So first of all, an entity which is a private member of IHIGU. So these are entities that are either directly or indirectly members of COSIR, FPA Europa Bio, MedTech Europe, and Vaccines Europe. So entities which are members of those entities may not apply to become contributing partners. The reason for that is that in IHI projects, we have participation of private members and contributing partners, and you can be either one of the two categories. You may not be obviously a private member and a contributing partner at the same time. A contributing partner is a category of participants that is separate from the private members. Therefore, as a first step, every entity interested in applying to become a contributing partner should investigate whether it's not affiliated in any capacity with our private members. So either as a direct member of our private members, which is what we called a constituent or an affiliated entity of a private member, or either indirectly, for example, via another organization, which can be a national or regional organization. I will give a practical example of such affiliation on the next slide. So this is something that needs to be checked before considering to apply to become a contributing partner. And if you establish that your organization is in fact affiliated to one of our private members, that means that your entity can participate in IHI projects directly without the need of contributing partner application process. You may ask how to check this. Well, this is not something that the IHI office can check for you. We would suggest that you investigate the websites of private members, so the websites of COSIR, MedTech, FPA, Europa Bio, and Vaccines Europe, because those websites actually do have lists of corporate members. As far as I know, they might also have lists of national associations, other entities, which are considered constituent or affiliated entities of our private members. And if after checking those websites, you are still quite not sure whether your organization is in fact associated to the private member, then we would advise to reach out to our private members directly. So here I'm going to give you a practical example of an entity that is in fact a private member, so you can understand a little bit more also how the affiliation works like. So this is obviously an example of a case that we made up, but this this can happen in practice pretty much the same way. So let's imagine we have an Irish pharmaceutical company that is interested in becoming a contributing partner. This Irish pharmaceutical company is a member of a National Irish Association for Medical Technology Companies. Then this Irish Association of Medical Technology Companies is in fact a member of MedTech Europe. So this actually makes the Irish company an affiliated entity of MedTech Europe. Therefore, this Irish company, for the purposes of IHIJU projects, will be considered a private member of IHIJU. As a consequence, such company is not allowed to apply to become a contributing partner, but is very welcome to join the project directly as a private member, and in that capacity they may contribute ICOP, and that ICOP is counted for the 45% eligibility requirement at the proposal's review stage. So just to underline, this is obviously something that should be confirmed by the private member. This is an example that we invented for the purposes of this webinar. But if you think that your company might be in a similar situation, I would recommend to contact the private members directly, and they will be able to advise. Okay, so there are also other examples of situations when an organization or legal entity cannot apply to be a contributing partner. In particular, if this entity would like to bring to a project contributions which are not eligible according to the rules of Horizon Europe. Egle will talk in much detail about what type of contributions are eligible. And then secondly, an entity, a legal entity, which is not in a position either operationally or financially to meet all the obligations of the Horizon Europe Model Grant Agreement. Those are legal obligations which also relate to auditing, preparing reports related to the projects. Therefore, we would advise that before you consider to become a contributing partner, you also have a look at the model grant agreement to see if your company is in a position to fulfill all of the obligations of the model grant agreement. Further, also a legal entity that is not really financially in a position to provide the envisaged contribution may not become a contributing partner. Such entity might be rejected by the IHIGU governing board in the review process. Okay, this concludes the first part of our presentation. Now, once we know who may be a contributing partner, let's look into why would an entity decide to be a contributing partner. So contributing partners is a chance that our legal bases offer to participants interested in contributing on a strategic level to IHI, but at the same time without becoming full members of IHI. So for example, without becoming members of the trade associations that are private members of IHI. So ideally, an IHIGU contributing partner should be a key player in the healthcare system, should be also an entity that is interested in engaging in multi-stakeholder public-private partnerships, and an entity which actually wants to invest its unique contribution, whether this is knowledge or know-how, or the time and the work of their staff to bring innovation to patients. There are some added benefits from becoming a contributing partner. First of all, I would say it's networking. So as a contributing partner, a legal entity becomes part of a wider health collaborative ecosystem in which they can exchange with other entities. Due to that, contributing partners can benefit from mutual learnings and sharing expertise by participating in IHI projects. And lastly, being a contributing partner is also allows a certain level of visibility. IHI regularly publishes, the projects of IHI regularly publish their research and presents the results of the research on international conferences or policy events. Now let's look into the two different types calls of proposals that we have in IHI and the differences in the way contributing partners engage in those calls of proposals. So in IHI, we have either single stage or two-stage calls. So let's now look very briefly at the single stage calls. Single stage calls are calls which usually have a very broad topic. This call topic is not specific to one single technology, solution, or output. The applicant consortia in single stage calls are composed of IHI-GU private members and public partners who normally request funding. In such single stage consortia, we may also have contributing partners. In single stage calls, the proposed budgets always have to include at least 45% of in-kind or cash contributions. So by the way of an example, if a project has a budget of 10 million, then at least 4.5 million of that budget will have to be provided by either private members or private members and contributing partners. In single stage calls, contributing partners may also be eligible to receive funding on top of their role to invest their own resources. Obviously, not all contributing partners are eligible for funding, only those who fulfill the general eligibility criteria for IHI single stage calls. Two stage calls have a different nature. The topics and the budget is determined by what we call the pre-identified industry consortium. Such pre-identified industry consortium includes also contributing partners, not always, it's not compulsory, but on many occasions it also includes contributing partners. And in such case, the contributing partners are pre-identified in the call topic text. Here, the applicant consortia of beneficiaries who would like to receive funding from IHI, they submit a short proposal at the first stage of a two-stage call. So that is also another difference with a single-stage call. And the successful applicant consortium joins the pre-identified industry consortium in the second stage of a two-stage call. Due to the nature of a two-stage call, the pre-identified industry consortium is not eligible for funding at all. That also extends to the contributing partners in the pre-identified industry consortium, if there are any present. So now I'm going to move into the what part of the presentation, and I am going to stop sharing and let Egle share the presentation and continue with talking about the type of contributions that contributing partners can bring into the IHI-GU projects. There we go. Thank you, Egle.
Okay, thank you. I will continue the presentation. And we'll start with a short overview of IHI budget. So IHI is a public-private partnership with a total budget of 2.4 billion euro for this program period. 50% of the public funding is coming from European Union through Horizon Europe program, and other half of the funding is private funding. It means what 1 billion euro is coming from industry members, industry associations. These are the COSIR, FPA, including Vaccines Europe, Europa Bio, and MedTech Europe. In addition, 200 million are coming from contributing partners, the entities which do not have affiliation or link with industry members, but want to contribute to IHI objectives. As you can see on this slide, there is this matching principle, public-private funding, 50-50, which also is applied at the IHI call level and project level. Let's have a look how the budget of the project proposal is structured. So the total eligible costs cover all the expenses of the project activities, and part of the budget is for the entities which are requesting IHI funding. These are normally the entities as academic organizations, research organizations, nonprofit or SMEs, and their costs are fully reimbursed by IHI. On the other side, there are entities, participants in a project, which do not request IHI funding, but contribute in kind or cash. These are usually private members and contributing partners, and their costs are not reimbursed. In addition, in a single stage call, we have so-called hybrid participants. These participants can both contribute ICOP and or cash and request IHI funding. But this is the specificity of IHI single stage calls only. This type of participants can be accepted. In addition to the total project costs, we have also IKA, in-kind contribution for additional activities. This is not part of the total eligible cost of the proposal, and only private members can contribute to IKA activities. Contributing partners are not allowed. As you can see, I will talk in a few seconds about the 45% contribution requirement. And if we go to the next slide, you see that this is very important rule we have, and 45% eligibility criterion. What does it mean? It means that private members and contributing partners must contribute at least 45% of the project eligible costs plus costs for additional activities. On this slide, you also see the formula which IHI office is using to assess this eligibility criterion with 45% threshold. The formula might look a bit complex, but in fact it is not. And once you start filling in the annex to the budget, which is part of the proposal, the document will automatically verify if your proposal reaches this 45%. Here it's again important to also to stress that if a threshold is not reached collectively by both by private members and contributing partners, the proposal will not be evaluated, as this is the eligibility criteria. 45% threshold can be reached with one or several types of contributions. For example, the proposal can have only ICOP as a contribution or a combination of ICOP and financial contribution. And 45% must be this threshold must be maintained during project implementation. Therefore, in order to avoid risk that in case during project implementation, one of the beneficiaries is leaving the consortia, we recommend that your proposals aims for 50% of the contribution, as 45% is again, it's just a minimum requirement. In addition, the coordinator of the proposal must submit a declaration annex to the proposal to confirm that the required 45% contribution will be provided. This is part of your application. What type of contributions you can bring into the project as a contributing partner? So, as a contributing partner, you can bring ICOP, in-kind contribution to operational activities, and financial contribution. It's a cash contribution to project beneficiary to support eligible costs. IKA, in-kind contribution to additional activities, it's not allowed for contributing partners to bring to the project, to the application. It's only allowed to the private members. So here you see the main difference between contributing partners contributions and private members' contributions. And you need to remember that you as a CP can bring ICOP, FC, or a combination of both. In-kind contribution to operational activities, what it is? It consists of the eligible costs incurred in implementing project tasks as foreseen in the description of action. ICOP is not reimbursed by IHI, and only eligible costs can be considered as ICOP. Here again, there is one key message to pass to you, is that only eligible costs can be considered as ICOP, meaning that you need to make sure that the costs you plan in your proposal comply with the eligibility conditions in line with Article 6 of the Model Grant Agreement. What are these cost eligibility conditions? It means that the cost must be actually incurred, real or not the estimates, incurred during project duration. Costs must be connected to the project and necessary for its implementation. The cost must be foreseen in the estimated budget, reasonable and well justified. The cost also must be identifiable and verifiable. It means that it has to be incurred by the entity and recorded in its accounts in line with the usual cost accounting practices, in line with the accounting standards of the country, and comply with the applicable national law. So what we recommend here is that already at the planning stage, plan the budget with eligibility criteria in mind in order to avoid problems when the reporting comes. Examples of cost of not. Let's have a look to the examples of the costs which could be eligible or not. The first example is software license fees. So for example, software developed by the entity before start of the project and license fees used to valorize its use by the consortium cannot be considered as eligible ICOP. License fees paid by the entity during the project implementation can be considered as ICOP because these costs are actually incurred by the entity and recorded in its accounts. Second example is data. While pre-existing data has a lot of scientific value, but it's not a cost recorded in the accounts, and this pre-existing data was developed before the start of the project, these costs cannot be considered as eligible ICOP. However, costs for generating, harmonizing, and transforming that data or other actions on that data are eligible costs. So these are two examples. In the budget table of your proposal, you also have possibility to plan your cost under these 5 cost categories. These cost categories are personnel costs, subcontracting costs, purchase costs, internally invoiced goods and services, and indirect costs. Regarding personnel costs, we are not going to go into detail on different calculations methods for personnel costs, but we advise you to have a look to the Horizon Europe Annotated Model Grant Agreement, which provides a lot of examples on how to calculate and estimate your personnel costs. Here it's important to stress the importance of records keeping on the days worked on the project. So there are several ways to keep the records on the days worked on the project. You either by signing monthly declarations. In the portal, you can find the template available, or using other reliable time recording system in place. It can be computer-based or on paper. Sorry. Subcontracting costs. In your budget, you can also plan subcontracting costs to implement project tasks if that is necessary. When selecting the subcontractor, you must ensure that subcontractor has been selected in line with the usual internal practices, ensuring best value for money, ensuring the transparency and no conflict of interest. Subcontracting between beneficiaries is not allowed. The third cost category available for you to plan your cost if it's needed is purchase costs. And there are three types of purchase costs: travel and subsistence allowance, equipment. Here, only the depreciation cost for equipment can be accepted as eligible costs. Or the third cost type is other goods, works, and services. You can plan costs under this cost category if it is necessary to implement the project. For example, you can plan costs for the consumables or communication activities. Purchase between beneficiaries is again not accepted, similar to subcontracting. Internally invoiced goods and services, this cost category can be used when beneficiary itself provides or produce goods and services to be directly used by the project. The cost must fulfill the general eligibility conditions and calculated as unit cost following the beneficiary's usual cost accounting practices. And the last cost category is indirect costs. Here, there are a few messages to keep in mind is that indirect costs are calculated automatically for all beneficiaries, also for contributing partners providing ICOP, and it is a fixed flat rate of 25% of the direct costs. So it's a fixed flat rate, 25% of direct costs, and it means that no indirect costs should be included in other cost categories, as no double counting is allowed. This is important to remember when you plan your budget. How to calculate ICOP? In a single stage calls, for example, the currently open call 12, ICOP should be calculated as follows: total eligible costs minus requested IHI funding, if any. So if the contributing partner is planning to request IHI funding, then you will need to deduct this IHI funding from total eligible cost, and it the amount to arrive to the ICOP. In two-stage calls, there is a difference because ICOP is equal to total eligible cost. Contributing partners normally are not eligible to receive IHI funding. ICOP includes EU and non-EU ICOP. So ICOP can be EU and non-EU. What does it mean? EU ICOP is when eligible costs are incurred within 27 EU member states or 21 third countries associated to Horizon Europe program. The new version of this document is available. The link to this document is available here on the slide. And for example, EU ICOP could be considered if the costs are incurred in Belgium, Norway, or New Zealand. And non-EU ICOP is eligible cost incurred outside Europe, meaning not in the 27 EU member states and not in the countries, 21 countries, which is associated to Horizon Europe program. For example, USA, Australia, or China. In the call 12, which is open now, there are some specific cases, and I advise you to have a look more in detail in the call text, because for some topics, one country can be considered as EU ICOP, while for another topic, it can be considered as non-EU ICOP. There are also some limitations of non-EU ICOP. So at the program level, IHI program level, there is a limitation of maximum 20% of non-EU ICOP. It means that all the projects together should not exceed this 20% of non-EU ICOP. The same, it can be happen that in some calls for proposals, there is a specific limit set per project. As in the currently open call 12, the maximum non-EU ICOP allowed per proposal is 20%. This is also important to remember when you are preparing your proposals. In case if you submit a proposal with more than 20% of non-EU ICOP, and in case this proposal is selected, then during the grant preparation stage, non-EU ICOP should be reduced to maximum 20% and the minimum of 45% but the minimum contribution of 45% should be maintained. So you will need to ensure that there is sufficient amount of EU ICOP. As a contributing partner, you can also provide financial contributions, which I already mentioned earlier, but now we'll go into more detail. So what does it mean? Financial contributions. A financial contribution is a cash paid by the contributing partner to beneficiary to support a part of its project eligible costs. So you can plan, if a contributing partner plans to pay, you can decide to pay to one of the beneficiaries of a project to support. This financial contribution will count for the 45% threshold, but it will only count if the recipient of the financial contribution is eligible for receiving funding. Financial contributions should be based on the legal agreement between two parties. And additional information is required to provide in the proposal, Part B, regarding financial contributions. You will need to provide more details, like who is the financial contribution provider, financial contribution recipient, and for which activities this financial contribution will be used. So to sum up, here you can see on the slide how your financial contribution would look like and what type of cost it can cover, as I already explained. And this information you will need to also, once you decide to apply for a contributing partner, you will need to prepare this kind of table in the contribution partner application letter, but only for single stage calls, like the current open call 12. I will stop here with my presentation and will give a floor to Carolina to talk about application process.
Thank you so much, Eglem. I'm going to share our presentation again. There we are. We are in how now, and I think I'm in the presenter's mode, hopefully. Not yet. Am I? Yes, I think I am. My colleagues are telling me that I am. Unfortunately, I do not see it on my screen. I'm not in the presenter's mode. Okay, let me try again. Okay, there we are. Right. So, no, I'm not. I am. Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience. And I've already seen that there are some questions on the chat, which we will be happy to answer. But let's get through this last bit of the presentation, which is the how. In this part of the presentation, I will walk you through applying to become a contributing partner first in single stage and then in two-stage calls. I will focus more on the single stage procedure, which first of all is a little bit more complex, and secondly is something that maybe for some of you right now is interesting, as the call 12 is currently open, which is a single stage call. So let's get into that part of the presentation. Here we will talk about how to prepare your application letter to become a contributing partner in single stage calls, how to submit your application letter as a part of the single stage proposal. Then we will look at common mistakes in preparation or submitting of those letters and their consequences for your proposal. But we will not talk about joining ongoing IHI projects as a contributing partner, neither in single stage or two-stage calls, as this is a completely, I would say, separate topic. And for that purpose, I would encourage you to read the Guide for Contributing Partners, where we talk quite a bit about it. So let's look into preparing your CP application in single stage calls as a part of the proposal for single stage calls, such as, for example, call 12, which is now open. For purposes of clarity, I divided this process into steps. So as a first step in preparation of your application, we would like to encourage all potentially interested applicant contributing partners to check really in detail if they are not affiliated to an IHI-JU private member. I've had a chance to talk a bit about that already in a few slides ago, that sometimes it happens that we get applications from organizations which are affiliated to our IHI-JU private members via a national or regional association, and in fact they do not need to apply to be a contributing partner to join IHI project. In that capacity to contribute ICOP, they might just join the project directly. So I cannot stress enough how important it is to check that you are actually not affiliated to a private member, and it also saves you a lot of time. Then secondly, we would like to encourage our interested applicants to really check in detail if your planned contribution is eligible in the meaning of Article 6 Model Grant Agreement. Egle has spoken quite a lot about what are the conditions for eligibility. So if you still have doubts, please go back to that part of the presentation. As a second step, I would like to invite every interested applicant to read our Guide for Contributing Partners to really understand what contributing partners are. We describe in this document the application process in detail, but we also explain how in general contributing partner system works, which also includes the role of contributing partners in the project implementation. So I would really like to invite everyone to have a look at our website. If after those steps you are sure that you would like to become a contributing partner, we invite you to download the most recent template of the application letter for single stage calls. We update and change those templates quite regularly. Therefore, even if you have applied in that capacity in the previous calls, please make sure that you visit our website and download the most recent template. So this is how the first page of the template looks like. The template is compulsory, which means that we only review applications which are created using our template, and also that means that all parts of the template are compulsory. The letter has 4 parts. The first one is about you, so about the applicant contributing partner. Here, we ask the applicants to describe their legal details, which includes a PIC number, details of the organization, but also its mission and objectives. Then the second part of the letter is extremely relevant for our governing board when they are reviewing the applications from potential contributing partners, because this part of the letter describes the envisaged contribution of the applicant to the strategic objectives of IHI, but also the envisaged contribution of the applicant to the particular call and topic that they are interested of joining. The third part of the letter is what we call the financial table, which Egle has already touched upon. This is the part of the application letter where we described, where we ask you to describe in quite a lot of detail your contribution to the project, your envisaged contribution to the project. And as you can see on the slide, the table is divided into those categories that Egle has already explained, into the categories of the eligible costs. And here we ask all of the applicants to fill in this table and then also provide a brief description of that costs. This is extremely important for us, first of all, to see if the contributions are actually eligible, and secondly, this will be presented to the governing board. Therefore, it needs to be not only correct, but also clear. It is also important that all of the amounts that you insert in this table are in line with the proposal. So there should be no discrepancies between the data which is in this table and the type of costs and the proposal. So therefore, it's very important that you talk with your coordinator and agree with them also what is written in the proposal, as this should mirror your application to become a contributing partner. The fourth part of the letter is what we call declarations. These are the declarations that you accept the legal framework. And by legal framework, I mean not only the call conditions, but also the Horizon Europe Model Grant Agreement, and that you confirm that you meet the requirements to become a contributing partner and take up this commitment of becoming a contributing partner. As I already mentioned, all parts of the letter are compulsory. We also have on our website a checklist for the application letter in single stage calls, which should help you fill in this application. The checklists provides further instruction and guidance and is prepared in line with the structure of the application letter, so it helps you write it. It is advisable to check before finalizing your application letter. It is advisable to check that all elements of the checklists are ticked so that your letter is complete. As the last step in preparation of your letter, obviously you need to finalize it and you need to sign it. There are two options of how to sign this application letter. The first one is the traditional option, requires a printer and a pen, and a handwritten signature of a person who is legally, who can represent the contributing partner, therefore who can sign this application letter. Once you've signed this letter on paper, please keep it for your file, because we might ask for it in a later in the process. The second option of signing this letter is to sign it using a qualified electronic signature. But we do not accept all of the electronic signatures, and we also do not accept all of the qualified electronic signatures. As a European Union's body, we only accept qualified electronic signatures, which are in line with the European Union's EDAS regulation. On this slide, you will have a link somewhere to the list of countries which, yeah, actually it's here, the list of countries and the list of providers per EU member state, where you can check whether the qualified electronic signature that you use within your organization, is it actually an eIDAS signature? So you can click on this link. This brings you to a website, and on this website you can choose, for example, Belgium, and see what qualified electronic signatures are eIDAS compliant in Belgium or in Sweden or anywhere else in the European Union. Obviously, that also means that if you are applying to be a contributing partner, let's say from the United States, then you will not be able to sign this letter using a qualified electronic signature, as we only accept electronic signatures in line with the European Union legislation. Now, who should sign this letter? Only the legal representative of the applying entity who is properly authorized to represent that legal entity. What does it mean? Well, who is that in practice? It can be, let's say, the CEO or the chief financial officer, but it will depend on the structure of your organization. It will depend also on the binding law. So any person who is who is a legal representative in accordance with the law of the country where the entity is based. That should be the person who signs the application letter, as this is a legal commitment and only a legal representative can take up such legal commitment. Now, this letter, obviously, after it's prepared, it needs to be also sent within a deadline. And now we will talk a little bit more about how the applications should be submitted. So in single stage calls, the applications to become a contributing partner has to be submitted as a part of the proposal. This means in practice that the applicant contributing partners, after they prepare their application in accordance with the checklist and all the guidance that we've provided during this webinar, after they signed it either electronically or on paper and scan it, they need to deliver this application letter to the coordinator of their proposal. It is the responsibility of the coordinator to gather the applications of the contributing partners in their proposal and then to upload them in the EU funding and tenders portal along with the rest of the proposal documents as a part of the proposal. We also ask the coordinators to upload the contributing partner applications for their proposal as one PDF document. That means that if there's more than one contributing partner in such proposal, then the coordinator will need to create one PDF file and then upload it in the submission environment of the EU funders and tender portal. So let's have a look how it looks in practice. So this is a screenshot of the funding submission environment of the portal, and you will see here on the right side of this slide, you will see here what is called contributing partner applications. This is what we call the CP annex. So the CP annex, meaning the contributing partner annex, this is a place where this one PDF with all the contributing partner applications, provided that there's more than one contributing partner in that applicant consortium. This is where it should be uploaded by the project coordinator. So this CP annex is compulsory for all the IHI single stage proposals when there are contributing partners in such proposal. Obviously, if there is no contributing partners, this annex is not required. Now we are going to move to the part of the presentation where we talk a little bit more in practical details of the consequences of, let's say, mistakes related to this process. So first, I will walk you through the consequences of lack of submission of the CP applications in single stage calls. So as I already mentioned, it is not compulsory to have contributing partners in your applicant consortium, but in case you have contributing partners in your applicant consortium, the CP annex is compulsory, meaning the annex where you attach all the contributing partner application letters. So now what happens if you submitted your proposal, but the CP annex is not there, it's simply not submitted, but contributing partners are listed in the proposal? What happens if the contributing partner annex is submitted, but it's empty, or some of the applications of some of the contributing partners are missing? What happens if the CP annex is submitted, but the applications are actually not complete? They do not have all the questions filled in and all the parts filled in, or they're simply not signed? And then what happens if the annex is submitted after the deadline of the proposal or is submitted in some other way? For example, you decide to send it to us by email. Well, the proposal may still be considered eligible if other, admissible if all other criteria of admissibility are met, meaning that, for example, without those contributing partners in question, still the minimum consortium composition is fulfilled. But at the moment of the eligibility checks of such proposal, the IHI office will look in detail into each of the contributing partners, which is listed in that project, in that proposal's consortium. And then if the IHI office finds out that the application is not in order, meaning that it has been not submitted, or it's not complete, or it's not signed, or the whole annex is missing, then at the eligibility check stage, that contributing partner contribution will not be counted towards satisfying the 45% in-kind eligibility criterion for that single stage proposal. Have my slides stopped working? No, I think we are getting there. Thank you for your patience again. So coming back, so just to make sure that this is clear, because this is extremely important, especially for anyone interested in applying to a single stage call 12, which is coming up in April. As I already explained, the 45% is counted without contributing partners whose applications are either missing or broken. At the eligibility checks, those applications will not be considered. Hence, those contributing partners will not be considered for the check of the 45%. And as a result, this may actually make your proposal become ineligible, a proposal that could have been eligible. Now, let's move into, let's say a few words about the assessment of contributing partners at the evaluation stage. So let's imagine that you submitted a proposal that included contributing partners, and that proposal was considered admissible. That proposal was moved to the assessment stage at the evaluations, meaning that the independent experts are looking at your proposal. And at that point, actually, the contributions and the applications of contributing partners are also looked at, are also assessed by the independent experts. And they look into that, apologies, under the criterion of quality and efficiency of implementation of the proposal. And here, there are two quite serious consequences with respect to missing applications. So if the CP applications are missing in such proposal, the evaluators will consider that to be a shortcoming. So if the CP applications are not there, this will be considered a shortcoming of the proposal. Now, if your applicant consortium is actually does not include constituent or affiliated entities of private members, and the whole 45% eligibility criterion is based only on the applications of contributing partners, this actually will be considered a weakness of such proposal, as such proposal will not be a public-private partnership, as all the IHIGU projects should be. Now a few words of a summary before we move to the next part of this presentation, which is an application, which is contributing partners in two-stage calls. So please avoid the common mistakes in the application process. First of all, please check that the contributions are actually eligible. And I refer back to the presentation of Egle about Article 6 of the Model Grant Agreement and the eligibility criteria. Please make sure that your legal entity is not affiliated to an IHI private member, for example, via a national organization or a regional organization that is affiliated to an IHI private member. Please make sure that there's no mismatch between the application letter and the proposal and that your numbers are in order. And then if you have some non-EU contribution in your letter, or even if you do not have any non-EU contribution letter, non-EU contribution in your application letter, please also make sure that this is clear. If such contribution is zero, then simply state zero. Other common mistakes that we see is that the template was not followed, or there's key information missing from the template, that the letter is not actually finalized, that there are still elements of template in the letter that should have been deleted. And then we sometimes see that we receive letters that are not signed or the signature is not valid. For example, it's signed by a non-authorized person, a person who's not the legal representative of the organization, or is signed using a scanned signature, which is a handwritten, another handwritten signature. Scanned signatures are not valid signatures. It also happens that the letter is signed using a digital certificate, a digital signature that is not in line with the EIDAS regulation. As a general advice, I would like to encourage all applicants to discuss the letter with their coordinators, and really don't wait until the last day of the submission of the proposals to finalize your letter, to send it to your coordinator, and to upload it in the submission environment of the EU portal. Okay, and now we will have just a few slides on applying to become a contributing partner in two-stage calls. As a reminder, in two-stage calls, we have what we call the pre-identified industry consortium. This consortium is created from industry partners from healthcare sectors who are affiliated to IHI private members. And in two-stage calls, contributing partners can also be present, and they generally join the pre-identified industry consortium. This is the general rule, excuse me. And by joining the pre-identified industry consortium, contributing partners support a particular topic and not a particular proposal. Therefore, they are normally listed in the call text topic, and in that call text topic, we include the name of the contributing partner, and we also include the indicative budget, whether it's in-kind or financial contribution. And if such budget is included in the call text, then IHIGU may decide to match this budget. So in order for the contribution of an applicant contributing partner in two-stage calls to be matched by IHIGU, such contributing partner must submit their final signed application letter before the finalization of the call topic text, and then IHIGU may decide to meet the money to match this contribution. Now you may ask what happens if contributing partners want to join the pre-identified industry consortium after the call topic has been published. First of all, this must be agreed with the pre-identified industry consortium. And at this point, IHIGU cannot match anymore the money that the contributing partner wants to invest in this project. Preparing a contributing partner application as two-stage call is a little bit simplified, as the process is different from single-stage calls. So we have pretty much the same advice to all the interested contributing partners in two-stage calls, meaning that as a first step, you should check that your organization is not affiliated to an IHIGU private member, and you need to see if your contribution is eligible. After that, we encourage the applicants to read our materials and download the most recent template of the letter for two-stage calls. This template letter is different from the template in single-stage calls, and you may find it on our website. The template of the letter also includes additional obligations of confidentiality, because contributing partners in two-stage calls, they take part in the topic creation. We also ask them to keep all the information confidential, with especially related to call topic preparation and publication and proposal submission. In the application process in two-stage calls, we ask the applicant contributing partners to send us a draft letter via email so that we can review it. Obviously, IHIGU office does not provide advice with respect to any sort of topic or proposal related details. We simply have a look at the letter if it's complete. This is optional but recommended, and in two-stage calls we ask any interested contributing partner to send us an email. Okay, so this concludes the part of the presentation when about the application process and all the mechanics of the application process. Now we will have just maybe three slides left on the governing board approval of contributing partners and participation in the projects. And after that, we will move to your questions. Now I will say a few words about the assessment of the applications of contributing partners by the governing board. As we said at the very beginning of the seminar, this is an application process, meaning that there is an assessment stage as well, meaning that applicant contributing partners apply, and at the end of this process, the application is looked at by the governing board, and the governing board makes the final decision as to the acceptance or lack of acceptance of the contributing partner. So what does the governing board actually will look at? Well, obviously, it will look at the application letter, and from that letter, it will look at the strategic relevance of the applicant contributing partner, namely whether the involvement of this particular legal entity supports the achievements of the IHIGU objectives. Our objectives are described in the Council regulation establishing IHIGU, but also in our document called Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, which is on our website, that describes the goals and the objectives of IHI. And now, as a second step, the IHIGU Governing Board will look into the demonstrated relevance and potential added value of including such contributing partner in the project and its contributions, so the activities, duration, nature of contributions, and the contribution of that applicant to achievement of the goals of this particular project. That's why it's important to have a nice application letter where this is explained in line with our template. The governing board will, of course, also consider whether the contribution is eligible in line with the Horizon Europe Model Grant Agreement, as Egle has explained in detail in her presentation. There are also other aspects that the governing board might consider. So, for example, the financial operational capacity of the applicant to actually provide the envisaged contribution. So whether the applicant is in a position to fulfill its promise. And then the impact of this contribution of the program in general, especially on the non-EU CAP, which is also something that I think Egle mentioned on the program level. The governing board of IHI uses the so-called two criteria approach for assessing CP applications. So as a first step, the governing board looks at into, is the applicant a potential, is the applicant contributing partner a potential partner? Whether this applicant can actually demonstrate its ability to make a meaningful key contribution in the specific area of research of IHI. And then within that scope, the governing board will look into whether the applicant is actually an investor. So whether the applicant wants to act as an investor in a similar way to IHI private members, keeping in mind that we are a public-private partnership. As a second stage, the IHI-GU governing board will look into whether the applicant is actually contributing. This means that it will look into the nature and the type of the contribution. Is this contribution really something that meets the objectives of the IHI call topic or the IHI core project? And then indeed, it will also look into the net value of the contribution and whether this contribution is eligible. And now this is a very important point in case of so-called hybrid contributing partners. So contributing partners in single stage calls eligible for funding and requesting the funding. We can only have hybrid contributing partners in single stage calls. The governing board will look into the net value of the contribution of such partner minus the requested funding. Obviously, that net value cannot be a zero because in that case, the contributing partner is not contributing, therefore cannot be a contributing partner. After this assessment, the governing board will either accept or reject the application. It is the IHI-GU governing board that makes this decision always. And there is no limit to the number of calls or topics or projects that a contributing partner can apply to. But for each call or topic or project, this is a separate process and a separate application. Therefore, even if, let's say, some of you today during this webinar might be representing companies who already are an accepted IHI-GU contributing partner, if you have, for example, applied for call 7 and have been accepted. If you would like to join call 12, you need to prepare a separate application and go through this process again. Now, very briefly, we are almost at the end of this presentation and we will move to the questions shortly. Just really briefly, just wanted to show you one slide on what are the different type of roles that a contributing partner can take in a project and in the grant agreement. We talk about this in detail in chapter 5 of the guide for contributing partners, which describes the engagement of contributing partners during project implementation. As you can see, during project implementation, contributing partners can act either as beneficiaries or as affiliated entities or as associated partners. And depending on that, they will either have to or not sign the grant agreement, but they will always have to sign the consortium agreement to be a member of that project consortium. All right. We are almost at the end. This is just a summary slide to remind you what I consider probably the most crucial points of this presentation, the most practical points as well. Please remember that each contributing partner needs to really demonstrate their added value to the project. So please read about the assessment criteria by the governing board, and please read our guide for contributing partners, where we explain even a little bit more what is the actual role of a contributing partner and who should be a contributing partner and who should rather just be a simple beneficiary without applying to be a contributing partner. Please do not wait until the last day before the deadline. Many different things can happen on the last day before the deadline, including, let's say, a power cut that will prevent you from sending your application or something else. So we really advise to prepare those applications in advance. Talk to your coordinator, make sure that your coordinator has your application in time. Otherwise, if it's not submitted as a part of the single stage proposal, it will not be counted towards the eligibility. I cannot stress this enough, but please make sure that you're not affiliated to an IHIGU private member, because if you are, you can save time and just simply join the project as a private member without the need of this application process, which is also not the easiest. So please make sure that you check this and send an email to our private members and talk with them. Lastly, please make sure that you use the most recent template of the application letter. We update them regularly, and you can always find a very recent template on our website. Here we give some links to a very useful documents that we do have on our website. And after this presentation, you obviously can download this presentation from our website as well. And we invite you to have a look at our materials. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for listening to this quite longish presentation. And now we, meaning myself and my colleagues Egle and Antoine, we will be more than happy to answer all of your questions. If I can figure out how to stop sharing, that would be ideal. Okay, I think I managed.
Yeah,
Nassima,
thank you, Carolina. So
thank you
now
so much.
I will invite my colleagues to switch on the camera to move on to the Q&A session. So I'll start with the first question. Can an additional not listed in topic contributing partner participate in a two-stage call, both receiving funding and providing additional in-kind contribution if significant?
Yes, I saw this question already. So contributing partners in two-stage calls, they normally should be joining as the members of the pre-identified industry consortium. This is the nature of the two-stage call. But I think there's a little bit more to that question. So without going into the very, very legal specifics of the process, I would like to underline that it would be not possible to add a new contributing partner in a two-stage call at the moment between the proposal is submitted and the grant agreement signature, because this would be intervening with the process so much. It would be rather, if this is really relevant for the consortium to add such contributing partner later on, that would be something that would have to be discussed within the consortium when the grant agreement is already signed. So I hope this answers the question. If this person who asked this question has any other concerns, I would invite them to send an email to the functional mailbox, and we will be happy to look into the specifics.
Thank you, Carolina. So the next question is, can you confirm that it's not mandatory for an SME participating to an IHI project to contribute?
No one is obliged to become a contributing partner. There is no obligation to become a contributing partner. SMEs, I understand that this is a question about single stage call. Normally, SMEs in single stage calls are eligible to receive funding if they are based in the European Union or countries associated to Horizon Europe, and if their main objective in the project is to request funding, they should be requesting funding. So there's no obligation to become a contributing partner. Having said that, there is an obligation in single stage calls to meet the 45% eligibility requirement, which should in majority be met by contributions coming from private members. There might be also contributions coming from contributing partners, but this criterion can be also just met with contributions coming only from private members without the need of anyone in the project consortium to become a contributing partner. So this is not a process that is obligatory.
Thank you. The next one is for financial colleagues. So would providing a drug to the consortium for free, if not produced during the duration of the project, be considered an eligible ICOP?
So here, the short answer is no, it's not possible to contribute with costs that are eligible, that were incurred before the start date of the project. So for contributing partners, only costs incurred during the project lifetime are eligible.
Thank you, Antoine. The next one is about the lump sum project. Someone is asking, monthly timesheets are no longer required for the lump sum project. Is that right?
So first, a clarification in that the project funded by IHI are not lump sum project like a project funded by other granting authorities. So in the case of IHI project are projects that are reimbursing actual cost incurred. So we strongly encourage you to use timesheets to evidence the time spent on the project.
Thank you, Antoine. The next one. So someone is asking, why does IHI need such complicated financial rules?
So first, maybe as a reminder, that the vast majority of our rules are based on the Horizon Europe standard rules, and there are some specificities for IHI. In the case of the contributing partner, which was the topic today, the objective was to extend the participation of organizations that are not private members to enable those organizations that are not part of the industry funding member to also participate in IHI projects to get funding and to contribute. That is a first remark. And then we must also stress that we at IHI, we are the implementing body, which means that we are implementing the rule based on the Single Basic Act, which, as I said, most of those rules are the standard Horizon Europe rule, and we are implementing the rule proposed by the Commission on the opinion of the European Parliament and adopted by the Council. And also, another purpose of this contributing partner is to enable the matching, because as stressed several times during the presentation, we are public-private, and so the idea is to have a matching not only coming from the private member, but also by contributing partners.
Thank you, Antoine. So the next one is related to the iChild Coil 12, which is actually running on the topic 4. So someone would like a confirmation that ICOP from Canadian organization incurred in Canada have to be considered as a non-EU ICOP despite that they are from an associated country.
So this is indeed correct that Canadian organization Canadian organization specifically for the call 12 topic 4 are considered as non-EU in-kind contribution. The reason is that specifically this topic is funded by carryover funds, which are funds that are from the previous year that have been carried over, and it's a little bit complex. But those funds are prior to the were committed prior to the accession of Canada to the Horizon Europe funds. So specifically for this topic, the Canadian organization are considered as non-EU in-kind contribution.
Thank you. The next one, I think, is for Carolina. Would regulatory agencies like EMA, NICE, or health technology assessment bodies join as beneficiary receiving funding or as contributing partner? If neither, what would be the best option?
Depends. Typical lawyer answer. I do not know if Stefan is asking, sorry, that's not Stefan, that's Richard. If Richard is asking about the single stage, two-stage calls, there is a possibility for regulatory agencies to become contributing partners, and we did have cases like that. When it comes to, well, you say beneficiary receiving funding, so entities requesting funding, this is more complex. This is a really more complex answer. I would not like to go into all of the details today on that. I would suggest that perhaps Richard writes an email to our functional mailbox, but also specifying whether this is a question more for a two-stage call or a single-stage calls. But in general, a general answer would be that it is possible for regulatory agencies to apply to become contributing partners.
Thank you. And the next one is also on call 12 on topic 1, boosting innovation for a better understanding on the determinants of health. Are hybrid partners an option for this call and the topic?
That is, I think this is for me, hybrid partners. So I understand that by hybrid, the person who's asking this question is asking about entities that are both requesting funding and contributing. Now, hybrid partners, I do not know if you mean hybrid contributing partners or you mean hybrid private members, or whether you mean entities that want to apply to become contributing partners and at the same time request funding, or entities that are members of the private members that want to contribute and request funding. When it comes to the second case, meaning private members that would like to request funding, our general recommendation is that such entity contacts the private member in question that they belong to, whether this is MedTech, COSIR, or other organization, and checks with them what is the policy of the trade association as to requesting funding. When it comes to contributing partners that would like to be hybrid contributing partners, meaning contribute ICOP and request funding, well, I would encourage you to have a look at the general eligibility criterions for call 12, because as it was already mentioned also by Antoine, we have some particularities in call 12. We have 5 topics, and in some of those topics, for example, entities from Canada are eligible to receive funding and some of them not. So to answer more specifically, we would just encourage you to have a look at the eligibility rules. And if the person who asked this question is still with us here on this webinar and would like to ask a follow-up question, we are here.
Thank you, Carolina. I can see that our colleague Catherine, who is monitoring the chat, she's writing that there was an update from question 7. Let me go back to
Yeah,
question
I
7.
see it now.
On the
What would be
regulatory.
what would be the best way to have regulatory agencies join the consortium? This is not a question that can be answered in a way that this is the best way or this is the best way. Obviously, it depends. It depends what is the point. So what is the purpose of such agency to join the consortium? If the agency is, and I have to say again, there will be cases when such agency may request funding, and in some cases it won't be able to request funding. It will depend on the particular call topic. And if this is the main objective of participating in the project to request funding, then the beneficiary route is recommended. But if the main purpose of the agency is to become a contributing partner, meaning to contribute its own resources, to invest in the project, to contribute to the strategic objectives of IHIGU, all of the aspects that we described today, if this is the purpose of joining a project consortium, then a contributing partner is an option. So, yeah, it will really depend on the situation, and it will also depend on the type of call.
Thank you, Carolina. So the next one is a question from someone who would like to have a confirmation, and he's apologizing for his ignorance, but he's asking, in order to create a project proposal, be the lead organization and find partners, does one of them have to become contributing partner?
Thank you, Nassima. Yes, there was a very similar question before when someone asked whether an SME can just join the project without becoming a contributing partner. Well, to create an IHIGU project in single stage calls, I have a feeling that this is a question about the single stage call. You need a consortium of minimum 3 participants that have to be based basically in 3 countries. And then none of those participants needs to be a contributing partner. It is not compulsory to have contributing partners in the project consortium, but having said that, in single stage calls, it is compulsory to provide the 45% eligibility criterion threshold. That means that you need to have the funds to cover the 45%, and obviously they can come fully from the IHI private members, entities affiliated to them. So if you have the 45% fully covered by the private members, obviously you do not need to have a contributing partner in your project. I hope this answers this question more or less.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Again, maybe I would just like to very much invite the person who asked this question to watch the webinar of the rules and procedures of IHI, where my colleague Desmond has explained in a very simple way all of those aspects, and this webinar is posted on our website. Maybe Catherine could post a link to that webinar, and this describes how IHI works in practice and also what are the minimum requirements for an IHI project consortium.
Thank you, Carolina. The next one, is it beneficial to proposal to have more than one contributing partner?
I mean, again, it is beneficial for the proposal to have a contributing partner or contributing partners that provide a meaningful contribution, that contribute to the strategic objectives of IHIGU, that make a meaningful contribution to the project. And whether it's one entity or 2 entities, that is not this is not something that is doesn't add value. Yes, so it's more about maybe I will try to rephrase. It's more about the quality of the contributions of the contributing partners and not the number of the contributing partners.
Thank you, Carolina. The next one is SME is a member of a national association, which is member of Europa Bio, which is an IHI member. Is the SME an affiliated IHI member? What is the status of this company?
Well, the Europa Bio knows what's the status of this company. I can say that most probably, this company will be considered an affiliated entity of an IHIGU private member. Having said that, I am not the chairwoman of Europa Bio, and I cannot say that this is true. And I would very much invite the person who asked this question to contact Europa Bio to confirm it. But most probably, it will be considered an affiliated entity of a private member. Most probably.
Thank you, Carolina. So now the last question of this webinar. For profit universities, these are considered a non-CP, non-industry partners, correct? Can they receive funding similar to Horizon?
This question would be best answered. Yeah, maybe.
Yes.
This question would be best answered by the rules and procedures webinar, which we had a few days ago, or maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. So whether the university is private or non-private, usually it doesn't have much relevance to the fact whether they will be eligible to receive funding or be not eligible to receive funding. The rules on eligibility are in single stage calls are pretty simple. Any legal entity, regardless of its status, whether it's an SME or a university, is eligible to receive funding if it's based in EU member states or countries associated to Horizon Europe. Now, I think Egle also wanted to supplement this answer.
No,
Thank
no,
you.
it's all good. Thank you, Carolina. I think you
And
answered.
then the other part, maybe Nassima, could you please read this question again? Because I missed one part of the question, I think.
Yes, sure. So it was for profit universities. These are considered a non-CP, non-industry partners. Is that correct? Can they receive funding similar to Horizon funding, I assume?
Okay, so funding similar to Horizon. We do have our own rules on funding. We are a Horizon Europe, part of the Horizon Europe family, but we do have our own rules of funding. And I would really encourage everyone to check our frequently asked questions where we explain our rules of funding. Now, a university, so our private members are all the organizations that are affiliated to private members. I suspect that the university would not be affiliated to a private member. And then whether they are a non-contributing partner. Well, no one, you can only become a contributing partner if you apply to become a contributing partner and you are accepted by a governing board. And you apply to become a contributing partner within a frame of a particular project or a call topic. So generally speaking, everyone in the world is a non-contributing partner unless they have applied to be a contributing partner and they have been accepted to be a contributing partner. So that's how it works. I know that our legal bases are quite complex, but I hope we managed to explain them a little bit more today. And if there are any questions after this webinar, we do have an email addresses, and I can promise you all that we actually reply very fast to all of the questions. We normally do not take more than a couple of days to reply to even to the most complex questions, and we welcome all the questions.
Thank you, Carolina. And now we are reaching to the last question. In a single stage call, at proposal level, do private members and CPs contributing the 45-50% ICOP become beneficiaries? When will one of them participate as associated partners? So there is two questions in one.
Well, again, I would like to ask this person to watch the webinar on rules and procedures, because this is something that was explained there in details. Who can be a beneficiary and who can be, and what is the role of beneficiaries or the associated partners. As far as I can say, when you write the proposal in a single stage call, you list the participants in the proposal and then you tick who will be a beneficiary, who will be an associated partner. But as I said, the rules and procedure webinars really explain this nicely.
Thank you. And I see that, Catherine has updated our file. So someone is asking how to join. And again, we advise you to go and check the rules and procedure webinar that we had earlier this last month. Everything is on the website, the presentation slide, the recordings. And as Carolina was saying, you can reach out to us. And we are quite fast in replying. Okay, thank you very much. We are ending this webinar now. So we'll thank you, Carolina, Egle, and Antoine for taking part of this webinar. And I will thank you all for your interest, and I wish you a very nice afternoon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.